Welcome to the WPAOG podcast. On this episode, we meet Second Lieutenant Alma Cooper, class of 2023 and Miss Michigan 2024. Discover how she navigated the demanding environment of West Point, excelled as a mathematical science major, gracefully managed the dual roles of military officer, and became Miss Michigan 2024. Alma shares her story of leadership, resilience, and the pursuit of excellence across diverse fields. Please enjoy this episode with our host, Jamie Enos.
Alma Cooper, I can't believe you're on the show today. This is so great to have you. Second Lieutenant in the Army, Miss Michigan 2024. What an honor to have you and to tell your story today. Thanks for coming on the AOG podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm just so grateful for West Point, for Stanford, for the Army, for all the opportunities that have come into my life, all from choosing to come to West Point.
Your background is just so impressive. So I'm just going to go way back to little Alma back in high school and tell us, how did you even find out about West Point? How did you get to the academy?
Oh my goodness. My mom actually signed me up for West Point summer leader experience. I had watched my father's career. My father, he was an armor officer. He commissioned out of OCS. He actually commissioned on May 27th of 1998. And so little did he know that on May 27th of 2023, I would also commission into the United States Army, graduating from West Point. And when I went to West Point summer leader experience that summer going into my senior year, I didn't know a whole lot about West Point. I didn't ever see myself wearing a uniform. And so when I stepped on the campus and I saw cohesion and the teamwork, how peers relied on one another to overcome adversity, I knew that West Point was the place for me. And so I didn't apply to any other school. I only applied to one school. I applied to West Point. And
Wow.
I'm so grateful that I didn't make a 4-year decision. I made a life decision by choosing to go to West Point.
Well, that's risky, and I'm impressed. You just went all in and you get
Yes.
what you wanted. I mean, talk
There you
about,
go.
we'll talk about that. I mean, your competitive spirit is just so impressive to me. Do you remember your R day? Do you remember?
I do. I remember kind of that you get 60 seconds to say goodbye.
Mhm.
And I didn't want to look my parents in the face because I was a little bit teary eyed. But I think that, it meant a lot to me that to give them that last hug and know that the decision I was making was one that I saw my father make. I wasn't born yet, but I knew that he had made a very similar choice to take the step to become an officer commission. And that I knew that I would be a better young woman and a better leader on the other side for it. I can say that the 16, 17-year-old person who walked in on our day wouldn't recognize who I am just because of all that I learned in my 47-month experience. And I also think that I'm just incredibly grateful for the graduate scholarship program and for the opportunities that I had while at West Point, because I'm a Knight-Hennessy Scholar. I mean, I'm earning a free education at Stanford in a master's program that I'm incredibly passionate about. So all of these things all stemmed from, taking that step, making that last hug and lining up on that line, cupping my hands and not saying anything on our day. I mean, it's crazy to think coming from then to now and all that has come from it.
It's a journey.
Yes.
When you were at West Point, you were involved with several things, including you were the manager for the women's volleyball team. What
Mhm.
leadership experience and appreciation did that help develop for your peers here?
I think that being a manager for the women's volleyball team really allowed me to see the true life of a core squad athlete and just all of the respect and appreciation I have for what they do on the court, on the field, but then what they also do in the classroom, what they do in their companies when they go back to the corp cadet and they back to the barracks. I mean, I'm just in awe of all of the different hats that they wear and how gracefully they wear them. And specifically, watching the leadership of Coach Alma was incredibly inspiring. Just always hearing how she spoke to the volleyball team, how she encouraged them, how she used her words of wisdom to truly inspire them. Being in that culture and in that environment has only made me more grateful for going through the 47-month experience at West Point and learning all I can from those that I interact.
But don't underestimate your impact on the team, right? Of being a team manager, that's an important
Yeah.
role too. So don't underestimate that impact that you also
Okay.
had on everybody else as well.
Yeah.
In the academic side, tell us about what you studied here. What was your interest and what did you do? And then you moved into the Knight-Hennessy with the graduate scholarship programs. Let's talk about those academics.
Yes. So I was a mathematical science major at West Point, and I was the only female mathematical science major. And I really enjoyed being part of the math department. It was incredibly rewarding. During my senior year or my first year, I did my honors thesis on body mass index and its relationship with the recruiting crisis in the Army.
Mm.
And it was really neat to present at the Math Army Research Symposium, MARS, my first year, and talk to Army senior leaders about what it looks like in terms of numerics when you look at America and the current body mass index that is prevalent across the country, and kind of what the current height and weight standards in the Army prevent individuals who would like to join the Army and what they currently look like and what the standard says, and offering a solution, a potential solution, data-driven solution to that issue. Maybe we should widen how we look at the Army's height and weight standard for the Army. And then additionally, I was a systems engineering track or in my program. And that's how I actually met my mentor, Colonel Coxon. She was my first instructor in the systems engineering department. She taught me SC 301, and she was my PL 300 mentor when I wrote my PL 300 paper.
Okay.
But, I think that through my academic journey at West Point, I have incurred the most amazing mentors, some of the most amazing professionals that I can look up to and ask questions, whether they be academic, military, or completely unrelated. But whether or not I should pursue Miss Michigan, what do they think about it? All these questions I've been able to ask mentors that I've incurred in my journey.
Colonel Julia Coxon, who is not a grad, interestingly enough, is the department
Mhm.
head of systems engineering. But what a great connection to kind of bring it all back together here at the academy. It's pretty cool. And the Knight-Hennessy Scholarship that you have won, you applied for that through the graduate scholarship program, which is a margin of excellence funded program here at West Point. How do you decide to do that? How does that come about? And what is that process to compete for that?
I initially was very nervous to apply for graduate scholarships. I really felt, if I'm going to put my name in a hat for something that's so competitive and
Oh,
so
like West
difficult.
Point. I'm only going to apply to West Point. I'm not going to apply anywhere else. I mean, that's, you kind of had success rate already, Alma.
But I was really, really nervous. So I talked to my mentor, Colonel Coxon.
Mhm.
She was like, Alma, go for it. I mean, what do you have to lose? And I was like, okay, sure, I got it. Yes, ma'am. So I applied for the Rhodes Scholarship. I didn't get an interview. I was crushed. And I knew that I still had the Knight-Hennessy Scholarship that I hadn't even started the application for yet. And I just thought to myself, am I going to let this one moment define what I want to have said that I had the opportunity to do and just compete for? I mean, I think there's a quote that I love, which is being in the arena. That quote, the man in the arena, the woman in the arena, that to me is what rang true in that moment. So I said, okay, I'm going to bite down on my mouth guard. I'm going to apply to the Knight-Hennessy Scholarship, and I'm going to apply to the statistics program, knowing that the stats department at Stanford is #1 in the country and that the odds are against me, I felt. But there's something to be said of being in the arena and showing your true self and being authentic in that. So when I made it to the next round, I was told that I was in the final 500. And I thought, that's cool, but it's okay if it doesn't happen after this. And then I made it to the next round and I was invited for an interview. And I thought, I just want to be in that room and share my story. So when I got my 40-minute interview, I had the opportunity, I wanted to share my gratitude. I wanted to share how passionate I was about using data science and data analytics to share the stories of underrepresented minorities in whatever space, whether that be nutrition related or. And when I got that phone call about 3 days after my 21st birthday from Tina Sealing, the executive director of the Knight-Hennessy Scholarship, and she told me that I had won, I could only think about telling my parents and having that moment with them over the phone and being able to share that all of the sacrifices that they have made throughout their life. I mean, my mother was a migrant worker from the age of 6 in the beet fields of Idaho. She herself suffered with food insecurity. And then my father was the first officer in our commissioning on May 27th of 19, and being able to tell them that after I also commission on May 27th, I'll be able to pursue my master's in data science at the Stanford University. That was an incredible phone call. And so my dad and my mom were in the grocery store, and my mom's crying, and my dad's, yeah, you did it.
Right. Oh my
and,
goodness.
and I just always go back to just having the most sincere, full heart of gratitude, because all of these opportunities, Knight-Hennessy, Stanford, would not be present in my life if it were not for West Point, the graduate scholarship program, mentors, my peers, and just all of those, that village that really helped me get to this point.
But it's also the personality, right? You are just a natural competitor, which is what I just adore that about you. From your story of getting into West Point to Knight-Hennessy to, managing the volleyball team. I mean, I had it and had it on it. I mean, president of the Elevation Club, which is a club with Colonel Everett Spain, and elevating the voice of cadets that are seeking leadership. Again, looking out for that competition. You were involved with that here at West Point, and then hey, I don't know, let's just compete for Miss Michigan. That sounds like another thing I should just go out and do. And oh, by the way, I'm just going to crush it and then win it. So, what prompted that drive to compete for Miss
Yes.
Michigan and that whole idea?
Yes. I mean, competing at Miss USA has been a childhood dream of mine since I was a little bitty
Oh,
girl.
wow.
And
Okay.
I have had Miss USA on my vision board for years. And I actually competed in Miss Michigan Teen USA when I was 14 years old, and I was first runner up. And then I competed 2 additional times in Miss Michigan Teen USA, and I was a semifinalist and made it to the top 15 both times. And, my final year, after that, I was going to West Point, and I really wanted to solidify my determination, what my true commitment was and is, which is to serve. And to me, I felt, I wanted to go through West Point. I wanted to make the best of my 47-month experience. And in that, come out on the other side better for it and reevaluate. Do I still want to continue on to this mission to continue to serve and do it just in a different form, which is serving the state of Michigan as Miss Michigan USA? And when I saw Second Lieutenant Maddie Marsh, who's an Air Force officer, won Miss America, and I had friends of mine coming up to me, Alma, that could be you. That should be you. You've had this dream for so long. I was like, okay, time to bite down on my mouth guard and go after this dream of mine that I've had for so long. And it really showed. I mean, I competing for Miss Michigan and getting ready to compete at Miss Michigan, it felt very similar to being a cadet. I would wake up very early. I would go and work out. I mean, typically, before competing, my workouts were in the afternoon, but to manage classes and extracurriculars, things like that, I went back to my cadet schedule. I felt like, and I woke up really early, did my workout, went to class, did office hours, ate lunch with my scholarship cohort, went back to class, went to more office hours. It's really neat to see how goals and ambition can really show your intestinal fortitude of how bad you want something or how motivated and driven you are to serving a bigger purpose. And I think that the Miss USA organization has many parallels. The Miss Universe organization has many parallels with the Army, and how to be a competent Army leader, it takes confidence, it takes personal courage with the Army values. And I think that competing on the Miss Michigan US stage and now the Miss USA stage is another form of personal courage to put yourself out there and to serve a bigger purpose. And for me, I'm using this platform to speak about food insecurity in this Michigan, as a little over 11% of Michiganders suffer with food insecurity, and 1 in 7 children in the state of Michigan suffer with food insecurity. So just finding ways to use my education as well as my dedication to service to prevail in different forms, whether that's wearing a uniform or wearing the sash and crown as Miss Michigan USA.
It's really interesting how you have that all woven together too. It's a nice connection that you have there between your mom, talking about your mom's hardships and your studies here at West Point, and then going back to the need there in the state of Michigan as well. So good for you on that. Let's talk about that preparation a little bit, right? Because I think that kind of gets missed sometimes when we talk about, a pageant, let's say. and the competition, but it's a dedicated process, right? It's not just like, hey, I wake up and I just show up for this talent and this day of doing it, right? You really put in hard work before that to prep for it. So can you just describe what that looks like for some people that may not have any idea what goes on back there?
Yes, of course. I mean, I think it's learning and fine tuning the way in which I share my story. I think that there's so many different things I could say. I could talk all about wisdom. I could talk all about Knight-Hennessy. I could talk about growing up playing 3 sports and being the captain of my volleyball team growing up. But I think that finding a way to weave in, make sure that seamlessly I can tie in a little bit of every aspect of what it means to be Alma Cooper. That is challenging
Sure,
because
sure.
there's
And
a little bit
and
of a
it's
lot.
yourself, right? You're judging yourself and trying to,
Yes.
improve your, oh, now I got to you have to look inward. So that's
Mhm.
very judgmental.
Yes. So I think having the humility to really just take a deep dive into my life, and what it has been and what I am still driven to do and what my dreams and aspirations are after my reign as Miss USA or Miss Michigan USA and going on to Miss USA.
It's okay. We like
Think,
that foreshadowing a little bit.
yeah, there you
You got the
go.
longer line behind you on that one.
Yeah. Just finding ways to tell that story, pick out the pieces that I think resonate with me most and have had the most transformative and deepest impact on my purpose and how I fine tune that purpose and what I've done to act on that purpose is. And I've truly found that that is to serve in any way, in any shape or form that I can. Again, like I said, whether that be in uniform or wearing a crown and sash, there is a true dedication to service that I think has prevailed in what I'm passionate about and how I want to use my education. I think that being at Stanford is an incredible opportunity that I'm so grateful for. And never in a million years could I dream that I would be studying math at Stanford or studying math at West Point.
Right.
I was a math nerd in high school, but I wouldn't say I was always really good at math.
Right.
So I remember making that phone call to tell my parents, hey, I'm going to be a mathematical science major. They were like, oh, we have to get you a tutor in math. It's great. Are you sure
Well,
about that?
that was a good investment.
But again, I think finding throughout that journey to prepare for Miss Michigan USA, finding ways to share my story with as many people that will listen as, I could find. And really speaking to the points that truly resonated in my experience to get to this great and hopefully continuing my service in whatever way.
All right, let's get to the kind of fun stuff, the questions. All right. You brought up sash and crown, so I'm gonna jump right into that because you told me this story before we got online, and you told me about your fear of the sash kind of thing. You want to tell? I think it's a great story. I think you should share that story. You want to tell everybody about what this like small fear of the sash is, and I think it just blends
Yes.
right into your personality. Absolutely.
Yes.
So.
So the sash, the Miss Michigan USA sash is, as you can see, it has a lot of white fabric. And when I was younger, my mom never really wanted me to wear white or just light colors in general because I was always the kid on the playground that was rolling in the mud, sliding in the grass, and taking kickball a little bit too seriously. I
Win, quite
always,
a win.
I always ended up with stains and rips and all of the above in my leggings and jeans. So when I was crowned with the Miss Michigan USA stash, I was very careful and maintained being very careful with what I do when I wear it because I have a tendency of making things kind of messy that
Right.
are white.
It's not like the Stanley Cup where you're eating a bowl of cereal
Yes.
left.
There you go.
You know, I think I can relate to that though. The whiteness would kind of like, okay, how do I clean this? What happens? And
Yes.
and panicking about it because, it's supposed to stay pristine, of course.
Pristine,
Sure.
exactly.
And when you're a competitor and you want to get out there with it,
There you go.
yeah. Is there a really cool place or what's kind of something very unique that you've done with it or taken it back to show off or kind of, support others that might have the same vision? What have you?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think a special moment I shared is being able to show it to my sister. My sister has special needs, and it was a little bit of a lot for her to come to the theater and watch it, just a lot of stimuli. So she had watched the live stream at home, and we told her that I was competing, and for her to see me on stage and at every kind of cut they make, the top 16, the 5, and then slowly calling off those names for runners up, she kind of really felt that same angst that I did on stage where, you want to hear your name called at some points, you're waiting to hear your name called at some point. And to show her that crown and sash and for her to, view me as kind of like a real life princess. I mean, she's all of my hats, all of my uniforms are so cool. I remember throwing my hat up in the air at graduation, like, and her taking one of the hats and bringing it back home and wearing it around the house for a week. I mean, she really loves,
that's
kind of
amazing.
donning the same hats that I myself wear. So being able to share this moment with her is really special. And I'm so excited for her to be at Miss USA.
I gotta admit, if we were in person, we're doing this remotely, this interview, but if we were in person, I'd be like, hey, can I see? Can I hold it?
Yeah,
Can I see it? Can I touch it? Can I hold it? Is it heavy? What's it?
I would say it's pretty heavy. I have a tendency of sometimes putting it on crooked. So it requires a village of people to make sure that I am not walking around with it crooked.
It's
But
just
I
like
would
West
say,
Point, right? Uniform
there you
check,
go.
make sure everything.
Yep.
You've got a little experience of checking everybody before doing a check before you leave the room. That's good to know. But your connection with one of the photos I saw afterwards, you had a whole group of West Pointers in the crowd cheering you on, which I just think that's amazing. Long Gray Line was there supporting you, of course.
Mhm.
And we could talk about that as well. But you wore your ring during the
I
pageant.
did.
Out of
I
all the
did.
pieces of jewelry that you are there to show and display, you had your class ring on. Can you
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about that decision?
Yes. Well, on my interview outfit, I actually also had my father's army uniform button sewed on to my dress. And I had brought my ring, have my ring at Stanford. I brought my ring in my purse to Michigan. And I was talking to my mom and I was talking to my pageant coach. And I would really think it'd be neat if I could wear this through as many parts of the competition as I could. And, I put it on with the interview dress and it was kind of just, hey, it looks really nice. It matches, it's gold. And so at that point,
Yeah.
they really can't say no. And the sentimental value that it has, being able to just share that I had that with me. And I feel like it's such a key part of my story that being able to physically have a piece of West Point in my experience with me just meant a lot. It meant a lot. And it gave me a lot of peace of mind because standing there and being, final to people standing on that stage with another incredibly young woman. And I kind of in the video, I had said, whatever happens, it's going to be okay. And I truly meant that because regardless of whether I walked away with this crown or not, I knew that I have a bigger purpose to serve. I have an incredible opportunity, which is to serve this country and to be a leader for so many people and to learn and grow as much as I can. And I think that wearing that ring and to share that moment with the West Point women that were in that crowd, it meant so much and it still means so much. And I'm just, it's really neat to know that I can document that moment with photos and having that ring present is really good.
It goes back to that. One of my favorite events that we have here at West Point is the ring melt when we gather other donated rings and melt them down. And then that goes into the legacy gold that then goes into future rings for graduates to wear. And I just feel like that is all part of that moment. And you're on stage and all of those other grads and those donated rings are, you've got that gold and that legacy gold of your
Yes.
ring are there with you as well, supporting you. And that strength of the long gray line really does matter and it makes a difference. And I feel like you appreciate that and you feel that power behind you too. And that means we're doing a good job, right, at the Association of Graduates to make sure that legacy keeps going. So
For sure.
you had some West Point women in the crowd cheering you on. How do you stay connected with the Long Gray Line? You're out in Stanford. You're not really, you did commission MI and you'll go on, or you're branched MI, excuse me, you branched MI and you'll go on to do that once you finish at Stanford. But how do you stay connected to the Long Gray Line?
I think that one of the ways that I try my best to stay connected is staying in touch with a lot of the veterans that are at Stanford right now, whether it be at Graduate School of Business, at the Business School at Stanford, or already within the Knight-Hennessy cohort. And so that has allowed me to not only connect with them, but also tap into their own network of amazing members of the Long Great Line, just continue to find ways to meet people and learn from their stories and share in commonalities and compare and contrast our West Point experiences, but then also just be a sponge for all that they can share as they prepare me to go on to the next step, which is going to my first unit, going to MI Bowling. Additionally, I really enjoy going to the West Point Parents Club of Michigan and being in touch with a lot of the parents who have sons and daughters who are currently cadets at West Point. And a lot of them are grads. And so many of the individuals in the crowd were from the West Point Parents Club of Michigan, Rebecca Ufford, Paula Thompson, a class of '02. So just incredible women who are, I guess, fans of me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm fans of them. I'm like, I'm a fan of you. Why are you? um, Being able to just talk to them about their experiences, talk to them about what they've experienced being the mother or a father of a cadet, and then being able to share that with my mom. I mean, my mom is a military spouse, and I mean, she's the mother of someone who graduated from West Point and being in the Army. And so she's still learning a lot about Army and West Point. And so having her kind of be along my side as we go through this experience together, she has allowed me to connect with many individuals in the Long Great Line, whether it's through her proud West Point parent license plate frame,
She
or,
still has that going on, huh?
yes, she does. And,
Now it's just
or being
bedazzled to reflect the the USA crown and that theme.
or wearing, West Point hoodies or West Point sweatshirts at the grocery store and running into old grads. I mean, she has found ways to connect me to members of the Long Great Line. So it has been really neat to find ways to connect with others and just learn as much as I can, because I think that's what makes the Long Great Line so unique, is that everyone is so helpful, so supportive, and that they want to see the Long Great Line grow and strengthen and only produce excellence.
Love to hear the parents club reference there, and knowing that it's, not just the boodle boxes, right? There's more to it there, and it's a lasting relationship that goes through. That's really
Yes.
fantastic. So you're at Stanford now. Things are going incredibly well, of course. We wouldn't expect anything else for you. How do you set goals and kind of chip away at them? And what kind of advice could you give to people out there about that style that you have, being that natural competitor, setting those amazing goals and then just knocking them off one by one that you have shown to us? What tips do you have for the people like me out here that are like, all right, where do I start? How do I get through this?
Oh goodness. I would say I think I had the opportunity to write about this when I was preparing for Miss Michigan USA. I wrote in the Scholar Insights Journal for
Okay,
Knight-Hennessy.
I'm just gonna say that I had no idea about that, like, full disclaimer here on the podcast, But of course you did, so go on, carry on.
The title is Why I Want to Be Miss Michigan USA. And I gotta start off by sharing that demanding excellence, the pursuit of excellence, has been this guiding motto in my life. Watching my mother, a migrant worker, earn her way to becoming a Division I All-American as a track and field athlete. Watching my father be the first officer in our family after a long lineage of enlisted service members. I am inspired by the two people who have raised me to always demand excellence of myself, even in the face of adversity or uncertainty. And I think that pursuing Miss Michigan USA, pursuing an education at Stanford, being a cadet at West Point, all of those have the intersection of demanding excellence of yourself and hoping to achieve a standard of excellence in any arena that I find myself in. I think that being a title holder and being an officer in the United States Army, there are parallels. I want to be competent, confident, humble, and always willing to learn and grow. And I think that having these roles have shown me that demanding excellence and pursuing excellence in your life every day, regardless of what you're wearing or what your uniform is or what hat you're donning, can show itself up in many ways. But again, character can speak so true in that demand of excellence. So I truly, again, rest a lot of that on the foundation that I've grown upon, which is my parents and how they've shown and inspired me to be on that pursuit and have a level head and be grounded in where I've come from and the stories that have come before me. I mean, even my full name is Alma Oralia Minerva Cooper. Alma means soul in Spanish. Oralia is my mom's name, and Minerva is my mom's name. Alma was the name of my dad's mom, and I actually have her ashes in a necklace that I wear. And so I have the soul of all the women in my family. And Cooper being my last name is what makes my father and I's Army service uniforms identical. So I can truly say that having the soul of the men and women in my family has inspired me and propelled me to continue to demand excellence and demand more of my character, regardless of what the route is.
Well, I'm fired up. I mean, I don't know how you can't listen to that and not be, tell you honestly. What is next on your checklist? What are you chasing now?
Oh goodness. I would just say that post Stanford, graduating after I graduate with my master's in data science at Stanford, I want to be the best officer that I can, whatever role that is, whatever job that looks like. I think that I came into West Point, bright-eyed, bushy-tail, just hungry for a challenge. And, I knew that I was going to be challenged by going to West Point. I knew that I was going to be challenged coming to Stanford. I know I'm going to be challenged as an officer, but I think that all of these personal experiences that I incurred throughout my life so far have just shown me that I truly am dedicated to serve something bigger than myself, and that I'm humble and eager to learn from those around me to be the best officer that I can be. So I don't know what, my life looks like 5, 10, 15 years from now, but I know that I'm going to continue to demand excellence for myself and just be the best leader, officer, and young woman that I can be, and with a grateful heart.
Alma, you are the complete package. You've got brains, you've got confidence, you've got determination and competitive drive and spirit. I know you're just going to take over the world one day, and we are going to have another podcast with you on it, following up on all of those accomplishments. The Longer Line is behind you, supporting you, cheering you on. We wish you the best as you compete in the next round for, let me make sure I get it right, but it's just Miss USA. Is that the right?
Yes, Miss USA.
So we wish you all the best as you compete for Miss USA. Absolutely, we'll be rooting for you. And we look forward to the follow-up where we can get the next phase of this story. So thanks for coming
There
on
you go.
today, Alma.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Go Army, beat everyone else at Miss USA, and we look forward to having you back on.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. I'm so appreciative.
Thank you for listening to the WPAOG Broadcast Network. Please take a moment to rate and review the show and join us each week for a new episode. Thank you for listening.